Welcome to Real Dead.
Hey everyone, this is Mike,
Hey, and this is Josh.
and we are Real
Real
Dead.
Dead. And Mike, what movie are we covering today?
Josh, we're covering a movie that I thought I had seen before, and then when I started watching it, I was like, I think I was talking about Wrong Turn initially. So, The Cabin in the Woods. It's a brand new one on me. First time I'd ever seen it.
I haven't seen this in a couple of years, but it's a favorite of mine. I remember, like I said, I was talking to you earlier. I remember renting this like at Family Video when it came out, and really enjoying it, and not knowing what to expect by the cover of the DVD. I didn't know what to expect, just like a cabin like puzzle, and I was like, "Well, what's this?" I thought it was just like a normal slasher or whatever. So I didn't know what to expect going to this movie, and I was pleasantly surprised. And I remember really liking it, and I still do today. I just watched it when we watched it, and it's just a very enjoyable, fun movie that doesn't take itself too serious. And the one of the reasons why I love it is because it has so many horror tropes in it, and some of those they kind of turn around, but some are like so blatant that you've seen it in a million horror movies. You know what I mean? So that's what I like about it. And it's kind of pointing that out to you, like, look here, this is this way, this is this way. And then it has the whole government thing where they're underneath and controlling things, or this organization. I guess I don't know if it's government or not, but which I really like all that. I like all the banter between all those people. And yeah, I think it's really good. So, Mike, do you want to read that synopsis? Do you have it?
Yeah, I've got the score first though, if that's all right.
Yeah.
So here it got a 92 from the critics and a 74 from the audience, which is a really high score in my opinion.
Yeah, I think the audience score is low. I would be actually higher. I would be somewhere between the audience and the critics. I think I'd be in the 80s, somewhere in the 80s probably.
So that's something good to talk about. You know, we're going to change it up for a while and go to a 10-point scale versus a 5-point scale.
Oh yeah.
Just so that it kind of mirrors the 100% scale by Rotten Tomatoes, because most people use Rotten Tomatoes kind of to get an idea of that, or IMDb. So we're going to go to a 10-point scale, which more in line, like for example, if I gave it a 7.4, that's a 74, you know, kind of like 74.
Right.
So it makes it a little bit easier thinking, you know, hey, what does this movie score?
Yeah, definitely. I agree with you. So,
and we got the synopsis as well here, Josh.
Yeah.
It says, when 5 college friends, and it's got all their names, arrive at a remote forest cabin for a little vacation, little do they expect the horrors that await them. One by one, the youths all fall victim to backwoods zombies, but there's another factor at play. 2 scientists, I'm not going to mention the names, are manipulating the ghoulish goings on, but even as the body count rises, there's yet more at work than meets the eye. And It is a R-rated for gore, drug use, strong horror, violence, language, some sexuality, nudity, blah, blah, blah. And the genre that they have here is horror comedy.
Okay. Yeah. See, the when I read it on, where did I watch it? Oh, HBO Max had it as horror mystery. So,
okay.
I mean, so Mike, do you have any memory of this movie when it came out originally in 2012?
Absolutely none.
Right. You thought it was Wrong Turn.
Yeah, I thought we was doing Wrong Turn. Yeah, I thought
Which
we was
is
doing
another
Wrong
movie
Turn.
that we
So
should.
I'd heard this movie, but I guess in my mind I kept getting them mixed up with Wrong Turn.
Right. So what are some things that you really enjoyed about this film, Mike?
Well, I thought all the characters were likable.
Yep.
It wasn't, you know, usually when you watch a movie, you know, you're always like, I know it sounds awful to say, but you're like, yeah, that one's going to get knocked off. It's not going to worry me much. Or you're kind of pulling for the killer to kill them. And this one, you kind of, I don't know, I kind of flipped it around where I was wanting them to get away, especially when it looked like the government, especially from the very beginning, it looks like some scientists and the government was involved with it, or some kind of cult type thing. So all the characters, all 5 of them that go to this cabin are very likable. And what I liked right off the beginning was in the cabin. They find a two-way mirror, and you're like, "Whoa, what the heck is going on?" So it kind of sets you up for a lot of mystery and thinking, something's going on.
Right. And so normally in like horror movies, you have certain type of archetypes for characters in the movies. And in this movie, none of these characters really fit that right away anyway. So, I mean, one guy did. One guy was like the stoner type, like, nerdy.
He's like
type
Fast
guy.
Times at Ridgemont High. Him
is
and
funny.
Spicoli.
His name is Marty. His name's Marty. And I had him late hair weed guy.
Yeah.
Because, but his name's Marty. Then they have like a guy that's like just friends with another main guy whose name's Kurt, who's played by Chris Hemsworth, who's good in this. This is like kind of like right about the time Thor was coming out, I guess. But Chris Hemsworth in this, he plays a guy named Kurt. There's another guy named Holden. He's kind of like, he's like an African American in this movie, and sometimes they have that archetype. And then you have Dana, who was like the virgin girl, the final girl, you can call her. And then Jules, who just happened to dye her hair blonde at the beginning of this movie. And she's kind of like the girl that's out there with herself or whatever.
Right.
But they don't fit in those archetypes really at the beginning, in my opinion. But as the movie goes on, they start filling those roles, and actually Holden becomes kind of like the nerdy, brainy guy. Like all of a sudden, the guy he never wears glasses, and then about halfway through the movie, he starts wearing glasses, and he's like reading books and all this stuff. It's really, if you just like notice things like that. And Jewel, she becomes like way more out there with herself, like dancing, striptease, basically.
When she made out with the werewolf, I was like,
oh yeah. And then you have Kurt, who like did have a football, but started like for whatever reason, the guy had his like collegiate jacket on, and he always had like a mug of beer in his hand, and he was like just devolving into like the meathead jock.
Yeah.
Like for whatever, and he wasn't that way at all. Like they even say in the movie, like Kurt's like going to college on a academic scholarship, not a sports scholarship.
Right at the very beginning, he offers one of the girls, the one was it Diana, whatever her name was,
Dana.
He gave her, he suggested a couple of science books for her, like,
right.
Hey, don't read that crap, read this.
Right. And so that's what I like about this movie, is that they start out not that way, but then they divulge into these typical, I would say, more slasher type character arcs, which I think is funny. And they also, like every other freaking scary movie or horror movie or slasher, they stop at a desolate looking gas station. And then it's like some guy there that's like the town hillbilly or whatever. I don't know what he was, but he didn't like these guys. He had like a bunch of chew dripping down his mouth, didn't he? And he was like basically telling them, don't go there or you will die. Don't go to this cabin or you will die. But they ignore him anyway, and they go. And that's basically in a lot of slashers or horror movies. That happens, doesn't it, Mike?
Yeah, very much so.
So I really like that. I think that's a very smartly written. That's what I like about this movie. I feel like it's very well written, and it's funny to people that watch horror movies a lot, because you pick up on a lot of these things that are going on in the movie.
So I think that's a key point you brought up, Josh, is that and this may be my problem, I didn't know this was like a comedy type thing. So I went into this thinking it was a hardcore horror movie, and it's really not it's a horror movie, but it's not hardcore.
Right.
There's a lot of comedy aspects of this.
Yeah.
And there's some funny stuff. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, no doubt.
Me and my wife were laughing. I mean, it kind of hooked my wife, and she's like, I hadn't seen this. I'm interested in seeing what's going on here. But we were laughing quite a bit in it. And in fact, you may disagree with me on this. I laughed more than I got scared in it. I thought it was to me 60-40, 50-50 comedy horror.
Sure.
I laughed more than I got scared.
I thought I had some pretty cool creature effects. And there's a lot of different creatures in this. Mike, I think you had an issue with some of the CGI, but
some of it kind of I thought looked a little cheesy, but I mean, some of it was pretty good too.
So, like, this movie has a ton of creatures in it. The main antagonists are, I would say, the scientists, but the creatures that were picked. So the cool thing about this was they go to this cabin that looks like it's ripped right out of Evil Dead, Mike. Don't it?
Well, yeah, and what's funny is you go in it and it looks very small from the outside, and then you go in and it's like huge. It keeps going back further and further. Like, and then it had a big basement in it as well. I'm like, it looks like it's a 10 by 10 hut on the front.
Yeah, that is funny. But they go down in this basement, all of them. But then the one guy that's the weed dude, he's like the only voice of reason here. He's like, guys, let's not be down here. Let's go. And there's a reason for this. We'll hear later why he was the only one that was a voice of reason to this whole group. Because the scientists are pumping in chemicals and whatever in their drinks. They're drinking like it's all.
The scientists are also taking bets on who's going to die first and who.
Yeah.
You know, they're betting on this whole thing that's going on behind the scenes.
And they're also betting of what creatures they're going to pick because
right.
Little did they know when they're down in the basement, there's all this different kinds of stuff down there. Chris Hemsworth's playing with like a cube, kind of like Hellraiser, basically the Hellraiser cube, but it's circle. The Jewel, the blonde, she's like looking at this necklace to put on. This other guy's looking at a jury box with that ballerina, which I think would have been that one ballerina with all those teeth, Mike.
Mm-hmm.
And then the one girl picks up a book just like Evil Dead and starts reading from it. And the weed guy goes, no, put it all down. Like, we got to go. Like, we need to get upstairs. They don't listen to him. She starts reading from this book. And, of course, what does it do? Zombie hillbillies or something. What'd they call them? Zombie serial killer hillbillies.
Yeah, zombie farmers or something. I can't remember what it was.
And so, but we find out that they basically pick who kills them by interacting with objects. That's what triggers what it would be their demise or what would hunt them, right, Mike?
Yep.
Yeah, which I thought that is a really cool part of this movie, to tell you the truth. But so it's these zombie hillbillies, which look pretty cool. I thought they looked cool. The main dad, he like has like a big bear trap. He like throws onto people and it like clinches onto them. And they got knives and all that kinds of stuff.
You got a one-armed little girl that's like had her arm cut off, and she's real creepy, slowly, kind of like The Ring, kind of like slowly walking up to you. She's got long hair.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, and then they all, they do end up dying. Some of the deaths are pretty gory. I mean, they cut Jewel's head right off and they throw it into the arms. Kurt dies pretty stupidly. I mean, he tries to jump.
It's like Evel Knievel.
Yeah, he tries to jump over like this mountain with his bike. But we find out early in the film that there's like a force field, like an invisible wall going all the way around this place. And so he runs it. They don't know that, though. He runs into it. He falls to his death. He's dead. And then Holden, who's like that nerdy African-American guy, all of a sudden, like right after Kurt dies, you're not expecting it. Not me. I mean, usually people don't die that close together. He's driving. You think everything's going to be all right. Not everything's going to be all right, but they're going to get back to the cabin. All of a sudden, a knife just comes right through his throat, which I think is, I think that's my favorite kill of the movie, Mike, to be honest. I really thought
that's kind of a throwback to like Friday the 13th, the spear or something like that coming through the throat.
Yeah. Yep. And then they thought the weed guy died, because the weed guy actually found out that there was like cameras in like the light fixtures.
He's like, whoa, this is a reality TV show.
So it turns out why he was more aware of everything that was going on is because of the weed that he was smoking. He did something to it. They supplied it, and it was supposed to be laced, but he did something to it after that counteracted whatever they put in it. So basically he was immune to all the stuff they were pumping in that cabin and stuff. He was immune to it all. So that's why he kind of knew what was going on. He ends up hitting one of those zombies with a bong. I always thought that's funny. Like a cup bong that he had. I thought that's really funny. But they end up going down into this underneath the cabin is a huge place, Mike. Tell them a little bit about this.
Yeah, well, they go down into underneath the cabin, and then they find was this kind of out in the field where they found the door that opened up that went down to the
Oh, I thought that was the cellar.
okay, yeah, well, maybe it
Oh,
was.
maybe it was. Maybe it was. I thought it was.
Yeah, I thought they'd found it from outside, but either way, it doesn't matter. But
Okay.
yeah, they found this way to get in there, and the stoner dude, I can't remember his name. What's his name?
His name is Marty.
Marty, yeah. So Marty had already found this down below and found out that he could kind of manipulate like an elevator shaft of it to go all the way down. And so him and the Dana, was that her name?
Dana.
They decide to jump in there, and he'd already killed a zombie that was in there, and the hands were still moving and stuff.
Yeah.
So they jump in that, and then they go down further.
Yeah. And it's cool.
And during the whole time, you hear these scientists talking about down below or up high or down below, and you're like, what's going on here? So they kind of run into a huge cubicle.
Well, it's like almost like a prison for these
things. A prison, like cubes, like these 10 foot by 10 foot or 8 foot by 8 foot cubes with all these, each cube's got a horror person in it.
Yeah.
You even see like the Grady twins are in there and whatever.
Yeah, and also
it's a knockoff on it. It's not, they're not called that, but you know that's what they're referring to.
Well, and also there's a guy in there like Pinhead, but he has saw blades instead. Mm-hmm. There's the classic, like a werewolf. There's like snake.
Clown. There's a clown.
Yeah, there's a huge spider. There's all kinds of cool stuff, and I love that. I think that's awesome. But at one part of the movie, one of my favorite things is when they get down in there and they end up releasing all of these monsters into this unit. And they just kill all these scientists. And the thing you don't know, the thing we haven't said about the scientists is when these people are dying and they think they're dying, they're partying, they're celebrating.
Yeah, they're up there partying with people, drinking, taking bets. And
I wrote here, they were playing Keep On Rolling by REO Speedwagon. They were like, and you learn that this actually happens all around the world.
Yeah.
And that's they have that in place to suffice. You learn that all this sacrifice is for to
keep the gods at bay.
The ancient gods at bay. And so you learn this because, and my favorite part is when all these guards get destroyed by these.
And there's blood everywhere.
It's awesome. I love it. And but you learn because at the very end, Sigourney Weaver comes out for about a 5 or 10 minute role. That's it.
Yeah.
But it's cool to see her in this for sure. And I was wondering if the girl's name was Dana because Sigourney Weaver's name was Dana in Ghostbusters 1 and 2. So I was wondering if that was a callback to her, but I just thought that. But you learn that, like, through the years, through the centuries or whatever, they've had to do this to keep the ancient gods satisfied, and it has to be one of each archetype.
One of 5.
Yeah, like they, the jock, but they didn't use that word.
Athletic and
the whore,
virgin.
Yep, a virgin. You have a fool, which is Marty, and then you have an intelligent, which was, Holden was the intelligent guy. Mm-hmm. So, and the virgin doesn't have to die, as long as she's the last one alive.
Right.
She can't die before that because then that'll ruin everything. So, for everything to work out, Marty needs to die, and
they think he is dead. That's why they're all celebrating and partying.
Right. And so the Dana plot twist, she almost is going to kill Marty because she's like, well, I don't want things to get messed up and unleash these ancient gods. But she ends up getting attacked by a werewolf, which I think is a pretty cool looking werewolf. And then that Sigourney Weaver ends up she gets into a fight and she falls over into
you have the girl that comes back that's supposed to kill Dana because she read the book from 1883 or 1883, and this one-armed farm girl that kind of looks like the Ring and long hair comes up and hits her in the head with an axe or a hatchet.
Yeah, right down the middle, dude.
And then Marty kicks her in the rear end or kicks him from behind, and the little girl and Sigourney Weaver fall down in this big massive pit.
Yeah, it's cool. And then so Dana and Marty just sit there and they're like, okay, I guess it's time for a change and to see what happens. Well,
Fires one up.
A huge arm, like they die. Obviously, they die, and a huge arm comes out where the cabin is. I mean, gigantic. So that's how the movie ends. And I think it's actually a pretty good ending. It didn't end happy at all. You think it could, but then it didn't. And like I said, I really enjoyed this movie, Mike. What are some final thoughts from you? And then what's your rating on it? 1 out of 10.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those movies. It's another one of those movies. You know, it's hard to me to judge a movie at the first time you see it. You know, I'd like to see it 2 or 3 more times. It's definitely one that is likable.
Yeah,
and you can have. It's a fun movie. It's not a serious. So if you've never seen this, and I know we already gave all kinds of spoilers, but it's definitely worth a watch. But it's one of those you're going to laugh and maybe get a little scared too at the same time. Don't take it too serious. That's the problem I did. I went into this, I think, too serious. But it's definitely a likable movie. You know, the critics gave it a 92, which would be 9.2, and then the audience gave it a 74. First time seeing it, I'm probably going to go a little low on my score. Maybe down the road, if we do it again later on, a couple of years from now, it may be higher. But I'm going to give it a 6.5.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna go with an 8.2, Mike.
Oh wow, that's a big score.
Yeah, I like it that much. I think it's that enjoyable, and I think it pulls so much from the horror movies that we love and kind of puts it in here, but in a smartly written way, in a fun way, that I really like it a ton, and I could watch it. I could watch it again tomorrow and be.
Who was the director again?
Joss Whedon.
Okay.
It's the guy that directed the Avengers. He did Buffy and all that. He's kind of in some hot water now because he came out that he abused people, like not physically. I don't know about physically, but he definitely yelled at people and like berated them and different things. So he's not in good graces.
He also was a writer. Him and Drew Goddard.
Yeah. Yep.
And you're right. It says 2011 is when it was produced, but it wasn't released till April 13th, 2012. So
I thought that because I remember.
Yeah, you're right. It was a Lionsgate film.
Yeah.
And it was originally made in 2011, but it was not released till 2012.
And I think that was like, yeah, I mean, that was, yeah, that would have been, yeah, that was really good. Like I said, I don't remember seeing the theater, but definitely, like I said, it's definitely very entertaining and a fun watch. If you want to have a fun popcorn movie, fun to watch. There is blood and stuff in it, but I mean, it does have cussing and stuff, but it does show a little bit of nudity, but not a ton. Just a quick
it's not
scene.
a ton.
No, a quick scene.
So what do you guys think? Have you ever seen The Cabin in the Woods? If you did, what'd you think about it? Tell us what score you would give it on a 10-point scale.
Yeah.
And hey, join us on Real Dead Horror Community on Facebook.
Yeah.
Probably need to go put that at the beginning as well.
Yeah, we should
join us on there. We have a lot of fun, a lot of sharing of posts from movies coming out, trailers coming out. Just some good fun on there.
Right, and there's a lot of stuff coming up, guys, with Halloween upon us. A lot of fun live shows planned, and just some
horror
other
collections, animatronics, Spirit Halloween, all that kind of good stuff.
A lot of fun stuff planned, guys. So check us out, subscribe, and tell us what you think of the movie.
All right, have a good one. Bye, Josh.
Bye, guys.